From a professional soccer career to becoming a driving force in the mortgage industry, Brian Covey has shown what it takes to find your competitive edge. Get off the sidelines and get in the game. Find your competitive edge with Brian Covey.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Finding Your Competitive Edge. So today is unlike some of the other ones. All of my football fans, all of my goalkeepers, whether you're a parent, whether you're a player, former athlete, or you're playing today, guys, you're going to want to tune in today because our guest is one of my fellow goalkeepers. And you know we're wired a little different. So you're going to want to make sure you tune into this because our guest today, Jesse Bradley, not only has he been a professional goalkeeper, played D1 at Dartmouth College, he went over to Africa and played, but his story and what he's going to share with you about his journey and actually overcoming what we all face at some point in our life, a storm and some type of obstacle that came our way. We're going to talk about some of his faith and how he made it through and how sports has played a role in that. But more importantly, guys, I love his mission and the way that he anchors within his faith. We're going to talk about Jesus today. We're going to talk about how you can be a blessing to others. And I love the way that he's using his purpose now and his platform. He's a speaker. He's got his podcast, The Bonfire. And you want to make sure you pick up a copy of Jesse's book, The Power of the Second Thought. So we're going to break down all of that and more today. I cannot wait because my fellow goalkeeper brother, Jesse Bradley, is with us. Let's get going. Welcome, Jesse.
Brian, so glad to be here. There is that special bond with goalkeepers. You know, it's a fine line between a little crazy and a lot of courage. And I see you're looking sharp today as well. You're looking like you're ready for a game. You're ready to catch something going to the upper corner.
Dude, aren't we always ready? And I love that you said that because, man, we got to jump into this. The goalkeeper union. I saw yesterday the MLS draft as we're recording this. This is the day after. And so I'm watching goalkeepers go through. I'm watching my friends and I'm thinking about those times that we went through that period in our life. And the goalkeepers just have a special bond. Like even you're competing against another team, you're almost rooting for that goalkeeper. You want to win, but you hope that goalkeeper does well. And as you're in training, you build relationships. So talk to me a little bit about how you even got into goalkeeping. So I want to go back to that because I have some theories on this, but watching you, I want to know how you got to become a goalkeeper.
That's right. For people who don't know soccer, they might think the goalkeeper is the position. It's the person who doesn't want to run because everyone else is running all over the field and you stay primarily in one space. But I was dreaming of being a professional athlete since I was 2 and was hoping for the NBA. And at that time in elementary school, the soccer coach, who's a legend in Minnesota, Buzz Lagos, his son Manny's involved with the MLS team now. Having seen me play basketball, he thought Jesse could be a goalkeeper, saw potential there, and started to train me. And I learned quickly from Buzz. Simple things like, how do you catch a ball? I had no idea that you catch it with a W. And, you know, catching basketball is different. So I had to learn that, thinking, okay, W, how do I dive and hold the W? Everything was new to me. And there's going to be times where someone sees potential in you before you realize it. And goalkeeper is a unique position. Obviously, you can use your hands. The other players can't. The perspective is different. You see the entire field. You have to anticipate. Like Wayne Gretzky said, it's not where the puck is, it's where the puck's going to be. And you have to have that mindset the whole time, communicating, directing. I was pretty quiet growing up. I didn't say a lot. But as a goalkeeper, I had to talk because I could see the whole field and direct people. And there's just a pressure on goalkeepers that makes it unique. In soccer, there's not a lot of scoring. If the goalkeeper makes a mistake, you might lose 1-0 and everyone knows who blew it. And you carry that. You have to get rid of the guilt and the shame. Every goalkeeper has a highlight reel or a low light reel of about 10 terrible goals that naturally are going to try to replay in your mind, and you can't go there. You got to delete the tapes. We all have past mistakes in our lives. You got to delete the tapes and give yourself some grace and start over with courage, not fear. And it's worth it because when you're clicking with the team in soccer's 11, and there's that sense of you know each other and you're doing it together and the locker room's great, and then you pull off the victory maybe you weren't supposed to win, all of that, like I miss playing even now. Like I miss playing. I miss that locker room. I miss that excitement. But I'm so grateful for the run. And soccer is a picture of life. It opens up the door to international relationships. And it's so much bigger than the sport.
You got me fired up. Just listening to that. takes you back to the training grounds, into games. And like you said, the highs and lows, it's probably not a position on the field that goes through that more, right? And I think, you think about it as a goalkeeper, if you look at the stats, you're exactly right. It could be the difference between winning and losing. And a forward might experience some of it, but as my friends that played up top, they would say, we probably got more chances than you. If we missed one, it was okay. We got another one coming right behind it. As a goalkeeper, you're not promised that. So I want you to talk about the mindset of this, because I think there's some things that, whether you're a goalkeeper, you're an athlete today or not, I think there's a mindset that goalkeepers have been able to forge that when I'm around other goalkeepers, I'm like, man, I just thought that's the way everyone thought. But the reality is there's probably some behaviors and some things you learned by being a goalkeeper that others can go, man, that's the mindset of a winner today, and how you overcome challenges and build what I'd say is a resilient mindset.
Yes, a resilient mindset. Sports teaches us about life. And even with sports, it's physical, but it's the mental game. And Brian, feel free to share some of your stories on goalkeeping, because I know your audience wants to hear a couple of those. What I'll go back to is my high school days and state championship. We played in the Metrodome at that time, so about 5,000, 6,000 fans. And it was my junior year, and I was scared. I was terrified. As a goalkeeper, I was standing there thinking to myself, I hope the ball doesn't come here. I hope I don't make a mistake. And I played cautious, kind of white knuckles, hoping that, I got to make just the right play. I'm in the Metrodome, and this is where I've watched the Minnesota Vikings always play. Got all my friends and family, and everybody's here. And I played terrible. We still won the game 3-1. But I left celebrating with the team, but personally thinking, like, that was awful. And I knew there's a different approach, different mindset. My senior year, we made it back the state championship game, and I came in hungry. And instead of cautious, I believe God doesn't give us a spirit of timidity, but power, love. Instead of playing like, I hope I don't make a mistake, I played with an intentionality, and it was almost like a hatred of playing with fear. Like, I'm not going to do that again. And sometimes in life, definitely as a goalkeeper, and my coach in college, Bobby Clark at Dartmouth, used to say, if you make a mistake, then what an incredible opportunity if that exact same situation comes again, that you could go back and do it different and do it right. And that's how I viewed it my senior year. We won in a shootout. It was a close game. Shootout, if you don't follow soccer, that's at the end of the game. You got 5 kickers from each team. It's the goalie. It's kind of man-to-man. And you've got to anticipate or dive, guess, respond, save the shot. The goalie isn't expected to save it. We won in a shootout, and that propelled, because that got the attention of college coaches. That game right there made a huge difference in terms of my next steps. And you don't know, when you play and you go all out, you don't know what that's going to lead to. The next team, who's watching, the door that's going to open. But you can't do life in fear. And I feel like even the last 3 years when the pandemic came, a lot of people just retreated. They got more quiet, more intimidated, more despair, kind of going back into a cave. And as a goalie, you're out there. You can't pretend like it's a cave or hide in a cave anywhere. You've got to come out. My coach from Ghana would say, you've got to be the lion. This is your den. And anyone that's coming around here, they need to know, right? Where's the lion? And that's how you have to play. You just can't play it soft as a goalkeeper. And that's determined before the game starts. Yeah. And that's the mindset that carries over into life. It's a lesson I'll just never forget. I go back to those 2 different games, and it's like, how do I really want to do life today?
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads, and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Let's break that down further for people, because I love the fact that you have these two incidents, and I love too that you go, as a goalkeeper or in life, you're going to see the same play multiple times in your life where you need to make a decision and you're second guessing yourself. You have fears, you have doubts. What shifted going into your senior year that you said, hey, I'm going to go and be more confident. I'm going to go on the attack and those things? Was it a moment? Was it a coach that said something to you? What clicked for you?
I would say that we want to be lifelong learners, and we learn the most from our mistakes and our failure. So when you get a taste of failure, then it's good to stop, reflect, and make those shifts. Don't just run through failure with denial. I know a lot of people, they just want to minimize failure or deny it. There was a pain that settled there. And similarly, when I got to college in my freshman year, there was a pain of sitting on the bench, right? And I don't want to sit on the bench for 4 years. This is not where I want to be. And sometimes pain, God can use pain to fuel a purpose, a passion, to ignite, to recognize what's really important. And it does affect your training. I started to train, and with shootouts, that became a passion for me. And training in that, it led to, we won a shootout in the NCAA tournament at college. I started to look forward to shootouts. Is that the most pressure-packed moment of the game? Yes. But instead of viewing it as, I hope I don't mess it up, instead I viewed it as, I've trained, I've prepared, I've practiced, I've got the right mindset. And in life, I believe, do what is right, trust God with the results. Be faithful, trust God with the results. There's a lot we can't control, but if we do what God's asking us to do and we take that right approach, there's a proverb that says, you prepare a horse for battle, but victory rests with the Lord. Yeah. Don't, no shortcuts with preparation. Absolutely. There's some people think like, oh, well, God doesn't really work in the preparation. He just works in the moment. No, God's in the preparation. Yeah. But then also, as you prepare, it doesn't matter if I have 10 graduate degrees. There's going to be so many situations that it is going to be in the moment. And I am going to be making decisions. And there is faith involved in parenting. There's so many scenarios I can't anticipate. I've got 4 teenagers. During a game, there's stuff we can't simulate at practice. There's opponents and things like that. So it's a both and. There's a preparation, there's a mindset, and then there's also this faith dynamic. And, I didn't grow up with faith. That wasn't until college. I can unpack a little more of that, but it was brand new for me in college to start to pray before a game, to pray during a game. And that calmed my nerves. That helped me to enjoy the sport more. That took pressure off me. There was a freedom that came from my faith. And that was another factor as I was growing and learning in college too. And on the field, off the field, they're not mutually exclusive. And who you are, it shows up in both places. And God was doing a deep work in my life, and that affected my goalkeeping as well in good ways.
I love that. We were probably similar stories there. I would love for you to talk about that, because that's where my faith really took a big turn going into college, because you're out on your own, you're starting to figure out stuff, and you're asking questions and like, okay, what do I have? And when you were saying that, I thought back to, before games, like calming my nerves with prayer, and also going out and the extra trainings that you do. And for those that don't know, goalkeepers, the best ones are not running away from having to run. The training is very different and it's intensive and all that. And you become this other elite athlete that I believe you're great on the field, you're great in the goal. There's all these other attributes you need to acquire. I'd love for you to talk about how your faith helped you through that in college, because there's probably a lot of people listening to this. Either their kids are going to college, maybe they're in college now, just got out of college, and how faith started to play a role for you and almost the before and after of Jesse and where you were, and how God came in and changed things in your life.
Yes, Bri. And our stories do. There's a lot of parallels there. They run together. When I grew up, my family was kind of like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors spiritually. I didn't believe God existed. My parents were divorced when I was 7. And I thought, if I'm good academically, if I'm doing well with sports, if I've got a lot of friends, I'm going to have an awesome life, even though there's some challenges, of course, at home. And that's what I focused on. And my life and my story really looked good on the outside. It looked like success, an Ivy League school. My freshman year, I was brought into the starting lineup. We won the Ivy League, hadn't done that in 25 years. There was personal awards. And at that very point where it looked like everything was going so well, my grades were good, parties, at that point, I knew there's an inside story. And a lot of people see the outside story of your life, social media, they see some of your success, they might watch you at work, but they don't know what's really going on. And I couldn't figure out why the emptiness was there because the boxes were checked for me with success. And I thought, what in the world's missing? And I didn't think about God. I took a religion class, not because I was seeking God, but it was part of a distributive. I wanted to graduate, and here's a class, so I'll take this one. And then God will meet you in unexpected ways, and he shows up. There was a professor, introduction to all the different religions, reading the different texts. He assigns the Bible, and it's the Gospel of John. I've never read the Bible before. And as I do that, the professor's kind of undermining scripture, yet this book is different than any other book. And it leads to dozens of questions. And there's this guy named Mike, and I'm reading the Bible, and I'm reading Mike. He's the first Christian who talked to me about faith. He's on my dorm floor. He's on the track team, kind of a quiet guy. And he just created that safe space where I could ask questions. If he didn't know, he'd say, I don't know. And he'd try to get some more information. And I was kicking the tires and reading the Bible, reading Mike, seeking answers. Is the Bible reliable? What's the evidence of the resurrection? Christianity all comes down to the resurrection. And here's what stood out to me. It's grace, that this is a relationship, not religion. It's not just a bunch of principles, but this is personal. And instead of me trying to earn it, and all of soccer and grades for me were performance and earning. And instead of that, this is receiving. It's not predicated on my actions or being good enough. A lot of people have that misconception. But God already loves us, knows us, pursues us. And as he does that, Jesus, and this is God, also human, the long-awaited Messiah, part of my family is Jewish. Who's the Messiah? Here he is. Here's all the evidence, fulfilled all the prophecies. And the light bulb went on for me. And it's this grace. I'm going to receive the gift. I'm going to be in God's family. I'm going to have my sins forgiven. And this joy came in the deep place that was empty. Now there's this song. And I'm more sports than musical, but it's just like this joy in this song. It's hard to explain, but it was even bigger than soccer. And it put soccer in perspective. It helped me with some of the pressure of being a goalkeeper. Instead of soccer being everything, instead of a performance-based identity that is full of roller coaster rides of pride, shame, inflated, deflated, how did you do? Instead of all that, soccer doesn't define me. My performance, my grades, my school doesn't define me anymore. Now I know I'm loved by God. And it was the security that soccer couldn't bring, and ultimately a deeper joy beyond the sport. And yet, it's not like the sport became boring or I was uninterested. No, my passion for the sport still remained, so fervent. And yet it was like soccer wasn't number one anymore. And it didn't belong at number one. And it just took that pressure off. And I just got to enjoy my teammates more, enjoy the run more. The coaching that we had was tremendous. The culture in the locker room. It was really ideal what I had at Dartmouth. And my faith helped me in soccer in many ways, but that wasn't the purpose of my faith. My faith has helped me as a person, but who you are, it shows up in what you do. What you do is not who you are, but what you do, it really comes from that foundation of who you are. And when I had that secure identity, I know I'm loved. Now the pressure just started to roll off in lots of great ways.
What a story. I love that. And I think a lot of people listening will be able to relate to that. And you talked about this performance and how we measure, and high performers will absolutely understand that piece. As you're taught all your life leading up to whatever level you play at, is like, that's how you're defined. That's how people talk about things. That's what they talk about after the games. Can you break down more and help people if they're looking to figure out their identity? Because I think you hit on something really important, and nobody's really said it that way on our show, of you're able to separate your identity of just being a performance and an athlete and all that, your identity in Christ. And you really merged those together, is what I was hearing, is, okay, now that's who I am. Yes, I play soccer an elite level over here, but you start to figure out your identity. And I hear people, gosh, even today at our age, and they struggle with their identity. It's a true struggle. How can you help them today? What advice would you give them?
Definitely. We live in a world that is so focused, consumed with performance. And people ask you, what do you do? How long you've been doing it? How well do you do it? And all of those questions are well-intentioned, but sometimes we get sidetracked. And identity is like an anchor. Where are you going to place your identity? Where are you going to drop your identity? And for me, part of it was through loss. My career ended tragically. And when I lost my career and I lost my health, and then I didn't have friends around, I didn't have a backup plan for after soccer. It was in that moment of loss. In those moments where there's disappointment, loss, sometimes they test us in ways that success doesn't. And fruit grows in the valley more than the mountaintops. And during that time, I thought, and it just hit me so clear, I can never put my identity in something I can lose. If my identity is in my soccer playing, I'm not going to be playing my whole life. If my identity is in certain friends, they might leave me. If my identity is in my health, even that isn't a guarantee all my days. If your identity is placed in something that you can lose, is too vulnerable. Your job, you might lose it. When your identity is secure, no one can separate me from the love of Christ. That's this life, beyond, even, the devil, demons, like people who are against you, oppose you. You take anything in creation, nothing has the power to separate you from the love of Christ. Now, I'm a dad with 4 kids. What do I want them to know? That they are loved, that they are secure. And they need to know it's not based on their performance. Like, I love my kids if they're getting an A, B, C, or they're failing a class. Now I'm going to come alongside of them and help them, but I love them. And the relationship that we have with God, it's never going to be taken away. The quality can go up and down based on our decisions, but the relationship's there, the security is there. Why? Because it's kept by God, not me. If my identity, my salvation, it all depended on me, it would be brutal, but it doesn't. And that's the grace that leads to freedom. When you have security, now you have authenticity. People can't be authentic if they're not secure. If you're not secure, you're going to be chasing somebody, something, trying to keep somebody happy. And when you do that, it's a trap. Like, you're unique. It's not a mistake. You're wonderfully made. You're made in God's image. You have talents, a personality that no one else has. Yes, we can have mentors and learn and grow, but the goal isn't to be a carbon copy of someone else. It's to discover how God's made you. And when you're comfortable with your voice and your skin and you're comfortable in your own shoes, you come alive, because you're like, this is how your purpose starts to flow. Now you wake up every day, you're excited because it's relational, but there's also something to do, and it's the right perspective, the right identity. So it's easy to summarize. It's a process, but there is a clear choice where you're going to drop that anchor in your identity. And it's honorable, it's wise at any point in life, 40s, 50s, to say, you know what, I'm going to shift my identity. And it's not going to be in performance stuff. It's not going to be in my job, my bank account. It's going to be right here with God. And that's when you're going to come alive in amazing ways. And you're going to have that freedom, that authenticity, and you're really going to discover your purpose as well.
What a beautiful message, man. And people rewind that back, because you hit on a couple things I want to go further with. And one of those, I saw something the other day. I was talking about authenticity, and it vibrates within humans as the strongest frequency we can have. When we're around other people that do have that anchor, they are really confirmed in their identity. It's not, like you said, these outward things that can be taken away or you can lose. When you have that, that's why people will vibrate on these frequencies, and authenticity actually resonates even higher, they said, than love. I was like,
wow,
how is that? Well, it's when you meet somebody for the first time, if you've ever had this happen, and you're just having this conversation and this energy is flowing, and you're like, hold on, just like, even like we're having this conversation, it's like, man, I'm getting excited for this, I'm getting excited for that. You may not know that person well enough to say, I love that person, right? You will in Christ, but like, you start to realize authenticity when you've figured out your identity. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, that's the circle. That's how this thing continues to go through. So well said, Jesse. I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially coming out of college, but later in life. And the challenge I would put out to everyone is, no matter what age you are, and Jesse, you said 40s, 50s, 60s, doesn't matter. You have a chance to reinvent and really solidify your identity as you go forward. Wouldn't that be beautiful to have that going into the new year, have that anchor, and to move forward? So, man, you get me going. So I'm gonna shift gears a little bit with you, because I could talk soccer. I love the identity and all things there, but I want to make sure we talk about your book a little bit. And I've got a copy on the way. I've seen some of it there, but I want to talk about this. And as you've got the power of the second thought, My brain went somewhere, but tell me about what the book is, who it's for, and let's unpack some of that.
This book is really about indestructible hope, and the power of the second thought is a habit we can cultivate. Hope is a confident and joyful trust in someone or something, and ultimately, your hope isn't going to be stronger than the one in whom you trust. And we're living in days where people are looking for hope. Some people feel like they've lost a lot of hope. Some people feel like they misplaced their hope. But where can we find more hope? Everyone wants more hope. And the good news is hope is available to everyone. Doesn't matter your education, your finances, your background, your past mistakes. Hope's available. It's not, God is not running out of hope. He's not up in heaven thinking, yeah, we're going to have to ration out the hope. It's been a tough year. God has hope for everyone. Hope is relational, drawing close to God, abiding. God is the ultimate source of hope. And then hope is also habitual. We cultivate habits. We have habits that increase hope. And the one I highlight in this book, and there's others, and part of it was what helped me in my journey of healing and restoration. Now I call it the power of the second thought. But I'll tell you, Brian, at the time, it was just thousands of thoughts that would flow into my mind. I call them first thoughts that you don't have control over. A lot of them are hope thieves. And not every first thought is good. In fact, studies show, National Science Foundation, the majority of our first thoughts are not helpful. We have thousands every day. And what are you going to do with those thoughts? It might be selfish or mean or inaccurate, impure, like those first thoughts that come in. Let's put it in goalkeepers terms, right? We were paid to keep the ball out of the back of the net. And this is kind of goalkeeper mode, except this is between the ears, that valuable real estate. And it's to recognize your first thought during the day. Think about what you're thinking about. And as you recognize the thoughts that are destructive, that are not helpful, then you're going to reject them. In a sense, you're saying, not in my house. I'm not going to believe, harbor, or entertain that thought, that limiting belief. That's not coming from God. It's not good. I like to say, if a thief shows up at your physical house, you're not going to say, come on in, sit down. Can I make you a meal? Make yourself comfortable. Do you want to stay tonight? You're going to say, not in my house. You're going to slam the door, lock the door. And that's what we have to do with the first thought. And then to have a second thought that's intentional. And this is where I turned to scripture, started to memorize scripture. And all of us are tempted every day. To be tempted is not wrong. But what's your plan? If you don't have a plan, you're going to fail, right? Fail to plan, you plan to fail. Yeah. And how are you going to handle the temptations during the day? Well, Jesus used scripture. And the Bible says, think about whatever's true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy. The Bible says, take that first thought captive to Christ, make it obedient to Christ, or else your thoughts will start to take you captive. And as you do that, it's like a new habit. Now as a goalkeeper, I dive, I catch the ball with a W, I don't even think about it. But initially it was like, what's a W? How do I make a W and catch a ball? Well, initially you're going to think, yeah, how do I do this during the day? Power of the second thought. This is how you do it. You start with a thought, and it's your second thought that's really helpful to you. And one for me was Psalm 46, verse 1. God is my refuge, strength, and ever-present help in trouble. And when I was sick, fighting for my life for a year, and it felt like there was no hope, instead of those first thoughts, life's never going to get better, like you don't have a career, you don't have friends around, nobody wants to be with you when you're struggling and suffering like this, all those thoughts, I would say, no, God is my refuge, strength, and ever-present help in trouble. And I'm going to walk with hope. I'm not going to receive that narrative of hopelessness. And I started to do now what I call the power of the second thought. But at the time, it was a renewing of my mind. It was keeping my mind out of the ditch. And it was very clear, very intentional. And I started to see the power of scripture, the power of God. And when your mind is renewed, when your mind's in a good place, now your words, your attitude, your relationships, all your responses during the day, it's flowing out of the condition, that inner condition of your mind. Your mind is key. God wants to renew the mind. And that's how hope can grow, cultivating a habit like the power of the second thought.
Dude, I love that. And everybody's got to grab a copy of that. I cannot wait to read it more through. You had me thinking, there was a coach that I had several years ago that talked about the importance of language and the words we use and the person we talk to the most.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror, it's ourselves. Wouldn't it be great? And there's the two differences of reacting out of emotion, which is typically where reactions and somebody quickly reacts and it's usually not their best. And I thought, that's the first thought.
Yeah.
The second thought is, man, how do I respond to that? Even if I've been dealt a hand I didn't ask for, or somebody's being nasty or ugly to me over there, or just things didn't turn out the way I wanted to. Like even with you finding out about your illness, how do you program in the responses? And this has been one of the great things I think people, as you're listening, I want you to think through, are you reacting more in your life, or are you able to get to that second thought and respond? And so I'd love for you to talk about that, because I mean, even as a goalkeeper, right? Like if we react, I won't pick on anybody, but our good friend Matt Turner the other day, who I love, right? And we all saw the game and all that. And it's very rare you see him act out in emotion, but you saw a reaction and not the response. And just using that as an example, because it happens to all of us, right? They're all guilty. I'm not picking on Matt because I love him.
Right on.
Think about, and we all have those chances. And how do you respond? You've got scripture, you've got things there. How does Jesse respond when things, they don't play out like you thought they would?
That's right. And I like your reference to Matt, because he's a phenomenal goalkeeper, but even the best ones have those moments. And of course, it's captured on video and then it becomes viral and everyone watches it. And, we can all relate to that. There's in the Bible, it says the spirit and the flesh. And the flesh, that's not the direction we want to go. The spirit, that's the wise choice. In the moment, if someone says something to you that's really nasty, or someone does something to you on the soccer field, a cheap shot, in the flesh, you want to turn around and kick them back, right? Who cares if I get a yellow card? Like, I'm getting even. But if you don't run with the flesh and instead choose the spirit, now you're going to have self-control. You still might not like what they did. You still might even have pain in where they kicked you. But now you're choosing, I'm not going to strike back. I'm going to think of my team, what's best for the game. And as you do that and you show that self-control, people are going to respect you. They're going to see that you're learning and you know how to turn to God. A lot of times we know what the right decision is, but the intensity of the moment, the emotion, it all just starts to take over. And then we're doing things we know it's not how we'd advise other people. And God wants to be there in those moments, guide us in those moments, develop our character in those moments. And pretty soon, like habits, we just learn how to respond. I won't forget, a guy took me down, and this was a pickup game, and I just didn't say anything. I was trying to let the spirit catch up because the flesh was wanting to run ahead, and I just didn't say anything. I stayed quiet, and I didn't take the bait. Well, not long after that, literally during the game, he knew I was a Christian. He said, "Where do you go to church?" And then I told him. And then he came to church, brought his family. They put their trust in Jesus, right? They got baptized. It's like, are you kidding me? It all started on that play. And it would have been so easy for me just to turn around and like call him a loser or something, out of frustration. But people are watching in those moments where you choose your response and you just pause so that the spirit, so the second thought, so that God, you make room for God is what you do. And as you do that, you're going to see the fruit of those decisions. And when you see those change, it could be for you, your marriage isn't in a great spot and you've been in conflict, lashing out. You've got some negative cycles. The power of the second thought, a gentle answer turns away wrath. When that's your second thought, now things get heated and you say a gentle answer turns away wrath. And your spouse is going to be stunned. Like, wait, that's when you raise your voice. That's when you bring a put down. That's when you slam a door. And you bring a gentle answer. Now you're changing the marriage. You're changing the culture in the home. This is powerful stuff. It might seem like a small habit. It's practical. It's daily. But the results, it's a game changer. And you could do the same thing at work as well. You pick the power of second thought. It might be a job where you have challenges. You're not really excited. You lost some motivation. And then what do? You show up and you say, I'm going to work with all my heart unto the Lord. I'm not working for my boss. I'm working for God. And I'm going to do what's right, even if they're all lying and, cheating in some areas, they don't have integrity. Like, I'm going to do this unto the Lord. And you have that mindset. And that thought right there becomes directional. God empowers you. You make room for God. And instead of like having a double life, now you have an undivided heart. And there's a consistency to your actions. And you know where that strength came from. You might have opportunities to share that with other people, but that's the internal decision. And I would even go as far as say that's worship. Like that's wisdom. It's also worship. It's honoring God, and it honors the people around you. It really builds unity, and we all are in that moment every day. And God truly does empower and encourage us to make those decisions.
Yeah, so good. You had me thinking about a few different times in my career where that has been the truth, where you don't have the best boss. You don't have the best, whatever economic conditions. You got people doing things they shouldn't be doing. And how you show up in those moments, people are watching you. Just like that guy was watching you on the soccer field. Like, how's Jesse going to respond to this? And what an opportunity we all have to be an example. And so for those listening, never forget about who might be watching you. Of course, at home first, but always think about out in the world. Once you know better, you do better. And this is that power, that second thought. It's like, man, when people see how you respond to these things, like, how are you able to do that? They want to know, they get curious. That could be the example they're looking for as they go forward. So don't underestimate that as you go forward. Okay, Jesse, I got to ask you, I've been dying to ask this one. Goalkeeper question.
Yes.
You're going to pick 3 of the top characteristics in a goalkeeper that you would be looking for or that you think makes a goalkeeper great today. What 3 are you going with?
All right. This is good. This is good. I want to hear your 3 too.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with courage because there's just no way to play the position well without it. I mean, the key plays, you're diving at people's feet. You're diving across the box. There's people coming at you. There's a lot of contact. It takes courage physically, where you put your body, you just kind of sacrifice your body. And it takes courage in situations. Courage, I believe that the greatest things happen in our life, not in the cave, like I've been saying, not in the safety zone, but when we venture out. We've got to take those risks. And goalies have to take risks to play the position well. So courage is one of them. I'm going to go with communication as a second, because if no one's talking back there, defense wins championships. Listen, if the other team doesn't score, you're not going to lose the game. The only way a defense works well together is a lot of talking. The forwards are looking to make runs to confuse the defense. Now who's going to be with which person? The goalie's communicating. The defenders are communicating. And the goalie sets the tone. And people hear that communication. When there's a cross for a goalkeeper, when I say keeper, and they hear that confidence, that clarity, it's like my defenders know he's got it. And the forwards know, like, ooh, we're going to step back because he's coming in strong. And that you hear it in the voice, the communication, the tone, the timing. You set the tone. So I'll say communication, courage. And since I'm a pastor, I got to go with another C. Didn't think of this ahead of time, but let's go with culture, because culture goes beyond the field. Yes, the game's exciting. The stadium's filled. You know, the championships are great, but culture wins championships. And you can't just turn culture on and off. You can't have a messed up locker room and then just act like the team's united out there on the field. Culture spills over. And as a goalie, you're always a leader. Whether you're a captain or not, people are going to look to you. You're a leader. That's the position. It's like if you're a parent, you're a leader because your kids are looking to you. You can't say, well, I'm not really a leader. I don't have much influence. Yes, your parents are watching you closely. And as a parent, you set a culture. In the workplace, you set a culture. You don't have to be the employer, the boss. You don't have to have, 8 people reporting to you. You set a culture. Well, the same is true with goalkeeping. Goalkeepers set the culture. It's far beyond the field, and it's those relationships. It's how you treat people. It's the care you have. It's the extra time you put in beyond practice that people see, and that inspires them. And they think, okay, if you're doing that, then the culture of the team changes. We're not doing the minimum. We're doing everything we can do to pull this thing together and collaborate well. So those would be my 3. But I miss the crowds, the competition, the locker room, before the big game. I miss all those moments, but those would be essential ingredients, I think, for a young goalkeeper. But that's true again. Soccer's a picture of life. What works as a goalkeeper is going to work in life too, beyond it. How about your 3, Brian? Got to ask you that question too.
Okay, so I'm going to add 2 because I love yours. I can't pick one of your 3 because they all 3 resonated with me, but I thought about 2 more. We're keeping the C theme because
right on.
Pastor thing, I was like, C. I always found goalkeepers have to be competitors on and off the field. You have to compete to win and compete for your team, compete with your other goalkeepers that are there, competing to be your best. As you know this, when you're not starting, you're competing to get there. When you are starting, you're competing to earn that spot and to create wins. And as soon as you stop competing to win and to be the best you can be for your team, you're no longer an asset to that group, right? You start to become the liability. So I'm going
That's right.
competitor.
It's good.
And the other will relate to today. And one of my coaches shared this with me is coachable.
Good.
And
really solid. Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll relate to this, Jesse. Throughout my career, different coaches would see things in me I needed to work on, I need to improve on. They would give me a different perspective and say, hey, I need you to work on this. This is the way our team's going to play in this formation, 3-back, 4-back, need you higher, need all these things. This is how we play. And if you weren't willing to receive that feedback and be coachable, you might think, well, man, I've already made it. I'm here. I'm a D1 athlete. I'm a professional, whatever your level is.
Yeah.
Those that were coachable, I found I was not the most physically gifted. I wasn't the 6'4", 6'5", huge presence. But if you could be coachable and always learn, those are the two. I'm going to add to what your three were phenomenal. I'm sharing those with all of my goalkeeper friends now.
Right on. Love what you shared. It's true. I had a coach that really pushed me to get better with my feet. Goalies are great with their hands. And he would say, you got to be just as good with your feet as with your hands.
Yes.
And at the time I was like, wait, I don't pass the ball. I don't dribble around. I'm not going to take the same risks. But he was so right. And if I resisted him, I wouldn't have developed the same way. And it's a little bit of that ouch that helps. Coaches that really bring out the best in you, there's a little tension there because they take you some places where you're not already. And they tell you some things that, you need to work on. And that's a gift. That's a gift when it happens. I love that coachability. It's huge.
Yeah. One of our coaches. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to add in the church, I see this. Some people have been in church for 20 years. They're not that teachable with God. They're not that coachable. They don't want to grow that much. And they don't grow that much. And other people come in really hungry and they're teachable and they just want to know God and live for God. And the growth they have sometimes in 2 years is more than someone else in 20. So it relates in a lot of areas of our life, that teachability, that hunger to learn. But yeah, what were you saying, Brian?
Oh, I was thinking about one of our coaches as I grew up. He was from Poland and played on the Polish national team, was a goalkeeper as well, right? So I had this very big respect and all the things for it. And he'd always tell me, he's like, if I'm not giving you a hard time and giving you feedback and really pushing you, I don't see it in you. I only push the people I think can go to that next level and that I see potential in them and greatness in them. And I remember him saying that one day and I'm like, so what you're saying is you being hard on me and all these things as a teenager to receive that is like, well, you're hard on me because you see good things in me. And for anybody listening out there, if you have people in your life that are hard on you in a good way, in the sense of they're not being negative and putting you down, but they're challenging you. They see the best in you. Like, hey, let's go do this. Let's try to approach it this way. They see it in you. Be grateful. Be grateful for those people in your life because they are the ones that are going to push you past what you ever thought you could do on your own. And if you don't have those people, find those people because they're going to help you.
That's it. So well said. Because if you just have a room of yes people who tell you you're awesome, you do a great job all the time, you're going to have all these blind spots. You're not going to realize your potential. But we all need accountability. We need it in every area of our life and not isolation. We need rebukes. We need people who come in and say, you know what? And a lot of times as husbands, we think, oh, we're doing awesome. And then our wife says, actually, you kind of dropping the ball over here. And it's like, how are you going to respond in that moment? There's a proverb that says, wounds from a friend can be trusted. And when someone really has your best interest in mind, that coach, that person, the courageous conversations, they share something that's not easy for them to share, don't resist it or get, full of, antagonistic towards them. Receive it. And then is there truth on there? What could I work on? Man, that's huge in life. And I love what your coach said. That's profound. Oh,
it's huge. And we got a lot. We could jam for hours and I cannot wait because we're probably gonna have to have you back on to cover all this, but I'm gonna land the plane with this one. So I know you're a goal setter. You're very purposeful about your time. What are you most looking forward to in 2024 and how are you planning to attack the year?
Great question. Appreciate it. As the pandemic started, I realized I'm spending most of my time in a focused area, which is people who follow Jesus. And going back to my own story and the courage, Mike had to share with me, the last 3 years, I've taken a lot of risks and just reached out in new ways, bringing hope. And I'm grateful for the doors God's opened up. It's been, shows like Good Morning America and Tamron Hall and NBC News. And what I'm finding is that people are really sincerely looking for hope. And when you talk about what hope is and how good it is, and even that it comes from God, the hope of God, people are really thirsty for that right now. And as I look back in the last 3 years, it's been an incredible time where it far exceeded anything I could. We had this is a World Cup outreach where 460,000 people made first-time decisions to follow Jesus. This is around the world. And there's a hunger spiritually right now. As that's all happening, I haven't seen anything like it in my time as a pastor the last few years. And here's my key going into the next year. I have loved doing this, but I need to be intentional. There's a chapter, Ephesians 4, where you train and build up other people. And of course, I've been doing that during my life, but I need to even be more intentional about that. And I love this picture of success, that it's not just you making it to the top of the mountain, but how many people can you bring with you? How can everyone get to the top of the mountain? And, if you love Maxwell stuff, Eduardo Braun has a great book. There's a lot of good resources that might fuel that for you. But that's my encouragement. As a dad, I'm trying to figure that out with my 4 kids. And then in where I serve here in Seattle and beyond that, we want to see, people that are full of hope, where you live, work, learn, or play in all different settings, and bringing that genuine hope. Ultimately, it's going to be, I believe, grassroots that changes our country. It's going to be in hearts and homes, and it's just going to be an overflow. And even through churches, it's going to be there. The church will be the most hopeful place. And I don't think it's going to be a politician, a law of the land. I don't think it's going to be something like that. Instead, it's going to be from the heart, and it's going to be received and then shared. So, Brian, you do this incredibly well too. It's how do you build up other people? That's why you have the podcast. I see you doing it in lots of different platforms, but it's about building up other people. And we want to see just an exponential move that God brings, where literally, there's healing in the nation, and there's hope, and there's a return to God as well, because they're all linked together. That's when I look out, every day matters, the small thing matters, the incremental matters, but also I think a big vision energizes, and a goalie can see the whole field. And I believe that, with a big vision and perspective, that's where faith kicks in. And you just know, I can't do this. I can't do it alone. There's no training. There's no slick method. Methods are good, but I'm going to need to rely on God. And that's a good place to be, relying on God going into the new year.
Oh, man, what a good word. And dude, we're going to be supporting you along the way. We're going to make sure to include the links on your book, your podcast. And also, guys, if you listen to Jesse, you've been fired up like I have, you need to get him out there to speak. He does all this stuff, speaking and training and things. And if you need somebody to come in and really energize your team, I will tell you, there's nobody better out there, as you've heard today. If that resonated, I always say there's a reason why you're feeling connected and called to, okay, we should do more things together. So, brother, you brought it. I love this. We could jam, and I cannot wait to connect up with you again, because there's our stories and the things that we often find when we slow down, we get to know people and listen. We're a lot alike, and a lot of connection points, and how we're equipped to serve other people. And you are doing that at a high level.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate too how you invest in your family. There's some guys that are strong in the business world, and it's kind of like, oh, the family gets leftovers. Like, that's not you. You see it in your posts, hear it in your heart. Like, you love your family, and you can have you can have a relationship with God, family, business. Like, it's a holistic vision, really. And, as much as we're talking and we're going and we're doing things, and it's exciting to take the next mountain, like from Christmas to New Year's for me is just slow down, quiet, listen. It's taking walks. I listen to God when I walk, when I run. Slow down, listen, write things down. And that pulling back is so key. Jesus did that. He pulled back at the beginning of the day so he'd know where to go and what to do. And if you've been running fast, you feel like, all right, it's a little scattered, it's a little random, slow down, pull back, just be still, let God be God. And as you're still, God communicates, God guides, trust God with what he's calling you to do, and looking forward. There's no limits to what God can do in 2024.
Oh, amen. And I think as one of the great lies many of us have bought along our careers, that you can't have all of those things. It's a but or an or all those things. And once you get the and mindset, man, now it's really connecting. So thank you, Jesse. Guys, Jesse Bradley, we're going to include the links here. Fellow goalkeeper, amazing human. And I want to make sure you guys get to connect up with him. This has been another episode of Finding Your Competitive Edge. And clearly you can hear how Jesse used sports, his ministry now, what he's doing in the world. He's really found his identity in using that to serve others. And that's the calling for you. And the challenge is, where have you been uniquely equipped through your life? The experiences, even some of the traumas and circumstances you've been through that maybe you thought disqualified you, actually qualified you for the people that need you to show up the most. So show up, do something great, love on other people. Let's go out there and make sure we make the world a better place. One conversation, one person at a time. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Make sure you follow Jesse. Catch you on the next episode, guys.